हेलो गाइस, आप लोग कैसे हो। मैं अजीत प्रताप यादव आप लोगों के लिए नई वीडियो लेके आ गया। आज इस वीडियो में डिस्कस करेंगे इंटरलेवरेट कंपैरिजन एंड प्रोफिशिएंसी टेस्टिंग इन a क्लियर स्ट्रक्चर वे। What are interleverage comparison and proficiency testing? At their core, ILC and PT are practices where multiple laboratories perform the same or similar tests on the same sample to check and compare their results. While the terms are often used interchangeably, there is a subtle technical difference. Proficiency testing. This is the more formal and structured version. It is the key tool for laboratory to validate its competency. A PT scheme, a coordinating body send out a homogeneous and stable sample to participating labs. The labs analyze the sample and report back their result. The coordinator then evaluates each lab's performance against a predefined criteria like a known reference value or consistent value from the all labs. The lab receives a score like a Z score that tells them if they are proficient or not. Analogy: it is like a final exam of the for labs. Interlaboratory comparison. This is the broader term. It is interlaboratory comparison. This is the broader term. It encompasses PT but also include other type of comparison that may be less formal. For example, a group of lab might get together to compare methods, troubleshoot a difficult procedure, or harmonize their practice without the formal pass-fail scoring of the PT scheme. Analogy: it is like a group study session or practice test for labs. In summary, all the all proficiency testing is a type of interlaboratory comparison, but not all interlaboratory comparison are formal proficiency testing. What is why it is carried out? The purpose. The primary region are quality assurance, competence verification, and compliances. First, to verify laboratory competence, this is the most critical region. It provides external objective evidence that a lab's testing procedure, equipment, and staff are producing accurate and reliable results. Next, to identify problems. If a lab's results are consistently different from the assigned value, the consistent it signals a problem. This could be with the calibration of equipment, the testing method, analysis techniques, or data handling. PT ILC help pin out area for improvement. Third point, to meet accreditation and regulatory requirement. Bodies like ISO IEC 17025, the international standard for testing and calibration laboratory, mandate mandate that lab must participate in PT-ILC regularly. It is non-negotiable requirement for maintaining accreditation. Fourth, to ensure comparability of results. For this, like medical diagnosis, as example cholesterol test, environmental monitoring, example pollutant level, or food safety pathogen testing, it is vital that results are comparable regardless of which lab performed the test. PT ILC ensure the homogenization the to build confidence. It builds confidence for the labs, customer, patient, manufacturer, regulatory agency that the result they receive are trustworthy. Evaluation of score, how performance is measured. The most common statistical tools used in PT is Z score. Here is the simplified breakdown of how it works. The Z score formula: Z equal to X lab minus XA upon S. X lab equal to result reported by the laboratory. The X is assigned value, true value. S standard deviation for proficiency assignment. Interpretation of Z score. Z score if less than and equal to satisfactory. This indicates that the lab result is within the acceptable range of the assigned value. The lab is proficient. If Z is less than 2 and less, less than 3, questionable, warning. The result is outside the acceptance range and signal is potential for problem. This is the yellow light that require investigation. If the Z score is more than 2 and less than 3, the result is questionable. Warning, the result is outside the acceptable range and the signal are potential problem. This is yellow light. Require investigation. If Z is equal to or more than 2, more than 3, it's unsatisfied. The result is significantly different from the assigned value. This is the red light indicating serious issue that must be identified and carried immediately, corrected immediately. The other source scores like Zeta score will account for the lab's own measurement uncertainty. EN value used to metrology are also for specific content. What is the use of uses and application? The result and process of PT and LC are used for internal quality control. Lab use their performance to identify biases, validate new method before implementation, and train staff. Point number 2, external accreditation. As required by ISO IEC 17025, successful participation in PT is documented evidence to assessor that the lab is technically competent. Benchmarking. Labs can see how their performance compares to their peers nationally and internationally. Method validation. If a lab is developing a new test method, comparing its results with those from labs using established method is a powerful validation tool. Support for legal and regulatory decision. Regulators rely on data from the accredited lab. PT participants prove that the lab data is reliable enough to, for example, shut down the food production for contamination or clear product for exports. Summary tables feature proficiency testing, interlaboratory comparison, definition, formal evaluation of the lab performance against preset criteria. Interlibrary comparison is a broader set of activities for comparing lab results purpose to verify competence, often for accreditation. ILC to compare results, homogenize method, troubleshoot. Third, evaluation scored with the outcomes. That score pass fail may or may not be formally scored, can be collaborative. Formality highly structured with a defined schedule and protocol, can be formal or informal. In essence, if proficiency testing is the essential health checkup for a laboratory, providing an unbiased report card on its ability to produce correct and reliable results. Now we can going to repeat this so that you can understand this in better. इंटरलेबरेटरी कंपैरिजन आईएनसी का डिफरेंस क्या है, क्या होते हैं इंटरलेबरेटरी कंपैरिजन, व्हाट इज द इंटरलेबरेटरी कंपैरिजन आईएलसी and what is the proficiency testing PT in a clear and structured way. What are interlaboratory comparison and proficiency testing PT? At their core, ILC and PT are practices where multiple laboratories perform the same or similar tests on the same sample to check and compare their results. While the terms are often used interchangeably, there is a subtle technical differences. Proficiency testing PT. This is the more formal and structured version. It is a key tool for a laboratory to validate its competency in a PT skill. A coordinated body send out homogeneous and stable sample to participating labs. The labs analyze the sample and report back to their results. The coordinator then evaluates each lab performance against a predefined criteria like a known reference value or consensus value for all the labs. The labs receives a score like a Z score that tells them if they are proficient or not. Analogy, it is like a final exam for the labs. Interlaboratory comparison ILC. This is the broader term It encompasses PT but also include other types of comparison that may be less formal. For example, a group of lab might get together to compare method, troubleshoot a difficult procedure, or harmonize their practices without the formal pass-fail scoring of a PT scheme analogy. It is like a group study session or a practice test for the labs. In a summary, all proficiency testing is a type of interlaboratory comparison, but not all interlaboratory comparison are formal proficiency testing. Why is it carried out? The purpose. The primary region are quality assurance, competence verification, and compliances. To verify laboratory competence, this is the most critical region. It provides external objective evidence that a lab testing procedure, equipment, and staff are producing accurate and reliable results. To identify problems, if a lab's results are consistently different from the assigned value or the consensus, it signals a problem. This could be the calibration of the equipment, the testing methods, analysis techniques, or data handling. PT, ILC helps pin out areas for improvement. To meet accreditation and regulatory requirements, body like ISO IC 17025, the international standard for testing and calibration, laboratories mandate that labs must participate in PT ILC regularly. It is a non-negotiable requirement for maintaining accreditation. To ensure comparability of results for things like medical diagnosis, labels, example cholesterol tests, environmental monitoring, example pollutant labels or food safety, example pathogen testing, it is a vital that results are comparable regardless of this lab perform the test. PT also ensure the homogenization to build confidence. It build confidence for the labs, customer, patients, manufacturer, laboratory agency that the results they receive are trustworthy. Evaluation score, how performance is measured. The most common statistical tools used in PT is the Z score. Here a simplified breakdown to how it works. The Z formula xz equal to x lab minus xa divided by s divided by s. X lab equal to the results reported by the laboratory. X is the assigned value or true value. S is standard deviation for proficiency assessment. Interpretation of Z score. Z is equal to less than and equal to 2 satisfactory. That indicate that lab's results is within the acceptable range. The assigned value, the lab is proficient. Z is more than 2 and less than 3, then result is questionable, warning the result is outside the acceptable range and signals a problem. This is yellow light that require investigation. If the value of Z score is more equal and more than 3, unsatisfactory, the result is significantly different from the assigned value. This is the red light indicates that serious issue that must be identified and correct immediately. Other scores like data score, which account for the lab's own measurement uncertainty, and EN number used in metrology are also used for specific contests. What are its uses? The application, the results and process of PTLC are used for internal quality control. Labs use their performance to identify biasness, validate new method before implementation, and train staff. External accreditation required by ISO IC 17025. Successful participant in PT is documented evidence for assessor that the lab is technically competent. Third, benchmarking. Labs can see how their performance compared to their peer nationally and internationally. Method validation. If lab is developing a new test method, comparing its result with those from lab using established method is a powerful validation tool. His support for legal and regulatory decision regulatory rely on data from accreditation lab. PT participants prove that the lab data is reliable through enough to, for example, shut down a food producer for contamination or clear a product for export. Summary table. ILCPT का फीचर इसको हम क्या समराइज करेंगे टेबल से. We will summarize it on table. Feature propensity testing, testing interlaboratory comparison. Definition: formal evaluation of lab performance against preset criteria. A broader set of activity for comparing lab results. Purpose: to verify competence, often for accreditation. To compare it, ILC is used for to compare results, harmonize method, troubleshoot. Evaluation score with example Z score with pass fail. Outcome may or may not be formally scored, can be collaborative. Formally highly structured with the defined schedule and protocol, can be formal or informal. In essence, proficiency testing is the essential health checkup for the laboratory, providing an unbiased report card and its ability to produce correct and reliable result. तो गाइस ये वीडियो आपको अच्छी लगी तो प्लीज लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब जरूर करें. डिस्क्लेमर इज फॉर दैट दिस वीडियो इज यूज फॉर एजुकेशनल पर्पस. तो गाइस अगर आपको ये वीडियो अच्छी लगी तो प्लीज लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब जरूर करें. जय हिंद, जय भारत.